Hello, everybody. Well, it's so great to see everyone today. Really excited about this opportunity to connect up again and explore a little bit more about this amazing world of AI. So excited to see you here today. And wow, I mean, what a week it has been. I hope that everyone had an opportunity to enjoy here in the United States, to enjoy Indigenous Peoples Day and Columbus Day, a nice long holiday weekend for everybody here. I am fascinated by this world of AI and the evolution of technology and what that's introducing for us in the world of work. Truly, how it's transforming the world of work for us. So as I was doing a bit of research and kind of digging in a little bit more about what is it that's unique about the world of AI today and humanoid robotics, what is truly unique about this environment as compared to other times when we've had, let's call them disruptive technologies. For example, when the internet explosion took place, right? So for those of you who have been in the business world for any length of time, you may have actually experienced a window when the internet and the connectivity of things, access to information on the internet, kind of access to information on the global stage, when that was all really starting to emerge and it was becoming available to us all at our fingertips. And fast forward, now we have more computing power in our phones than we do on any, than was even available in the first spaceships that were placed on the moon, right? More computing power in our phone than what it took to place a man on the moon just, what, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 60 years ago. It is really quite astounding. And so in that space, as I was exploring, the topic of mental health started to intersect with the world of AI, and especially in the workplace. So for HR professionals and for entrepreneurs, we often talk about the health and well-being of our teams. We talk about creating more diversity and inclusion. We explore how to create engagement, how to really help our team members be happy and engaged at work while going through many of the challenges and those aspects of business that can be quite robust and quite challenging at times and really challenge our mental capacity and our ability to problem solve and to be creative in those environments. And we speak of those things, and an underlying component is this question: how do we keep our minds sharp? How do we ensure that our minds and our brains are given sufficient capacity and time to rest, to relax, to slow down, to refresh, to reboot, to be able to think clearly, to be able to problem solve much more effectively, to be more innovative within a fast changing environment? So in that context, coming back to my original question about why is now different? How is now different? What is it that's unique about this current work environment as we're introducing AI and humanoid robotics into the workspace? What is truly different? Well, a couple of things came to mind. So first off, in doing my reading and my research, certainly the acceleration, the pace of change, that is something that is different. It is something that has really come upon us as we think about things like, just in our conversations, generative AI, where instantly, we can be creating and leveraging tools to create content that much faster and apply our creative capacity to that content so that we're able to accelerate and move more quickly. Now, that means that we need to have the capacity to make intelligent decisions, data-driven decisions, as well as trust our intuition, trust our gut, to be able to make those decisions in a world that is moving quickly. And here's the second component that I think is dramatically unique in this point in time. It is more ambiguous. What do I mean by that? So we really don't know where things are headed. The truth is we have never known where things are headed. We have some ideas, we have some visions, we have some things we want to create, we have imaginings. At the end of the day, when we can come to terms with and be comfortable with that things always change, and the acceleration of that change. And we really don't know where things are headed, but we have confidence in our ability to make good decisions. Now, that forms the basis of our conversation today. And what I want to share with you today, which is around the world of mental health in the space of AI. So my name's Diana Willis. I am an HR trendsetter. I am so excited to be in this kind of discussion and this kind of dialogue and sharing this information with you. If you've been with me over the course of the last few months, you've also had a chance to interact with and hear from some other thought leaders and HR trendsetters throughout our industry and our profession of human resources, and more importantly, throughout our profession of business, entrepreneurship, building teams, creating engagement, and playing on a bigger stage. So today, we are going to take a deeper dive look into the intersection of AI and mental health, mental well-being in the workplace. There are a couple of things we want to keep in mind. So first off, the fact is that our work environment is rapidly changing. It's rapidly evolving with the introduction of AI, the further embedding of AI, I should say, and also the revealing of more AI. When you look around and you start to become more aware in this space, you'll realize that AI has actually been playing a very active role in many aspects of our organizations and in our day-to-day life. So for example, how many of you have already interacted with Alexa? Alexa is a form of AI. Alexa is one of those components that's taking information and is actually helping to infuse that information with us. So from that standpoint, we actually have been interacting with various forms of AI for quite some time. Now it's becoming even more apparent, and it's becoming more infused into the work that we're doing, where that it's not only affecting our roles, but it's also affecting our mental well-being. And that's where we want to dive in. So we're going to discuss the soothing aspects and the stressful aspects of the AI evolution. Yes, that's right. You heard me. All right. There are some elements that are soothing about this as well. And I think you'll be fascinated as we start looking at those components and really thinking about how can we leverage as professionals in the HR world and in the business world, how can we leverage this knowledge, again, to continue to help our teams move forward and to feel confident in doing so. We're also going to really think about how do we navigate this digital age while we're safeguarding our mental health, because our mental health represents for us, for our teams, for our organizations, for us individually and as teams, it represents one of the most key and important differentiators for us as we move into these next stages. It is our capacity to discern. It is our capacity to make decisions. It is our capacity to be creative. So here's the challenge. Why do a lot of organizations kind of struggle with this? Why do many teams struggle with this aspect? Well, a few data points for you. So according to Pew Research, there is a notable concern among workers about AI potentially replacing human jobs. I shared this in a previous session where we did a deep dive into some of those components, and in particular, some of those areas where there's deep concern of the replacement of human jobs. It tends to be in those roles that are less manual in nature, less hands-on, if you will, or require less discernment, okay? So this is one of those areas where we are in fact beginning to see, and Pew Research reinforces this as well, that we are in fact beginning to see elevated feelings of job insecurity. Along with change comes that question of how will this affect me? How will this affect potentially my livelihood? Those questions can bubble up. Now, the more confident an individual is, the more pristine their mental health is, the less those types of concerns will come in. So this is one of those areas that it's on us and our responsibility in the human resources and in the business world as entrepreneurs and as leaders. It's on us to provide the context within which an individual can successfully navigate. In other words, it's on us to continue to move our teams and our businesses and organizations forward toward whatever their ultimate mission is, and to bring people with us as best as we can by providing the tools, by providing the context, by providing the information, by providing the training, by giving them the opportunity to learn and grow. It is on the individual to commit to the learning and growing. Another piece of information I thought was pretty interesting here as I was doing my research was from the University of California, emphasizing that with this presencing, I'll call it, of AI and humanoid robotics, with this presencing, what is starting to happen now is an even greater blurring of those work-life balances. And it's being exacerbated by the fact that AI's functionality is available to us 24/7. Again, we can think about, how do you interact with your smart TV? How do you interact with your computer at work where you may be applying RPA, robotic process automation? There's that constant interaction that's happening, and it is becoming nearly 24/7. So what's happening with that, and one of the things that we need to be aware of as a challenge, is mental exhaustion that can come from that. And we've spoken of this for many, many years, right? We've spoken about this aspect of work-life balance. And I say that with air quotes because I think that in some of our prior conversations as well, some of the things that I've taught on and shared in the past, this aspect of work-life balance can become a bit of a misnomer. However, what's true now is that all of this information, the flood of the information, if you will, and I choose that word smartly, the word flood, because it is a flow of information that's occurring. What's important is our ability as individuals, our ability to be able to turn it off or to engage in other activities that help us mentally switch and help us truly control our interaction with or how we are interacting with these technologies. The third piece is, and again, this is from the challenge perspective, is that Harvard Business Review recently shared this, underscoring that rapid technology evolutions can place undue cognitive burdens on employees, and that burden, that undue burden, can result in stress. Now, what does all that mean? Let's unpack that for a second. So technology is moving fast. I think we agree with that, right? And it just seems to be accelerating in the pace, right? And I kind of over dramatize that a little bit, but you know what I'm getting at, right? It seems to be accelerating. That is our perception, that it is accelerating. Now, we're bringing technology evolutions into play, and to the degree that our team members, or even us for that matter, to the degree that we believe that it is a burden placed upon us, it is a cognitive burden placed upon us that can result in stress. I'm a big fan of reading and reading philosophies and really reading and digging into those philosophies that have to do with the mind. And what is the mind? Something that I was reading earlier this morning struck me profoundly, that the mind really has three functions. The mind is intended to describe. The mind is intended to measure. Okay, so the mind has some very intentional actions. All right, so it's there to understand, to describe, to measure, to create distinction. That is the intention and the purpose of the mind. And that's what we want, to keep the mind sharp in that regard, so that as we're measuring, as we're describing, as we're relating, that we are able to actually navigate through this space and be able to actually navigate through this place in a very calm and collaborative way. Isn't this fascinating? So on the surface, as we talk about mental health and we talk about the health and well-being and the engagement of our teams, that there are a number of different underpinnings that are happening here. So let's dive in a little bit. For those of you that have been in my prior sessions and we've talked through things previously, and some of our guest speakers that we've had here as well, you know that we always like to lay out a challenge. And then let's talk about how we tackle this. What are some of the things that we can do, that we can take with us and carry forward? All right, so first off, I'm going to hit three areas. If you're taking notes, if you like to put your outline down, here's what they are. The first is going to be the mental health benefits of AI. I want to really dive into what are the benefits of AI that we can tap into for ourselves and for our organizations. The second area that we're going to go into is, of course, in the space of mental or potential risks to mental health, so that we're aware of those potential risks. And the third element that we'll dive into is going to be around implementing AI mindfully. So what does that look like? And in all three of these areas, again, I'm going to be giving you some very practical tips that you can apply, that you can begin to apply today for yourself and for your teams, and start to see how this actually builds the mental health, continues to build the mental capacity for your teams. Because remember, the mind is all about having that clarity, right? It's about being able to discern, it's being able to describe, it's being able to provide that relativity. That's what we want to have the pristine capability to do. So let's go into it. So first off, what are the mental health benefits of AI? If you were to sit back and just think about that one for a moment, what are some of the mental health benefits for AI or from AI? So a couple of data points for us. First off, Forbes referenced this. In fact, AI has enabled for us the ability to foster flexible work environments. Flexible work environments are strongly correlated with improved mental well-being. Again, for some of you who have been in the work environment for a little while, you know that just 4 or 5 years ago, the propensity of organizations were all located centrally. There were centric structures that were in place for teams. And through the course of AI and technology and the ability to interact more fluidly from just about anywhere in the world, we've now created a context in which work environments can be flexible. Now, they can have the flexible, that's from a physical flexibility perspective. And there's also the flexibility of how work gets done. So for example, as I'm talking with colleagues and friends, and we're just exploring this particular topic of flexibility in the work environment, how many of you have also had the experience where, in fact, there's more flexibility in the way that you get information in order to do your work? The advent and the explosion, if you will, on the public scenes, if we call it that, of cloud AI, of ChatGPT, there are a plethora of other tools that are out there, the chat engagements, the chatbots, and the exploration of all of that and the availability of all of that has brought more information to people's fingertips that much faster. That is an element of flexibility. And again, Forbes is showing us that there's a strong correlation between flexibility in the work environment and improved mental well-being. The fact that within our organizations, that, you know what, if we just need to get a little break and some fresh air, if we're on a laptop, for example, or even if we're on a hotline and we need to take our phone with us, we can step outside and we can get some fresh air. And then if a call comes in, we're right there. We're able to change our environment. That all contributes to mental well-being. Another area around some of the health benefits of AI include automating mundane tasks. So think about this one for a moment. So many roles have some components that are very structured. For example, I'm working with a colleague right now, and there are certain aspects of the work in the accounting world and AR and AP, accounts receivable, accounts payable. There's certain aspects that are very mundane. They need to be done. There's information that needs to be transferred. There's certain processes that need to be run, and they're important. They are foundationally important. However, sometimes what can happen is that mundane nature starts to dull the mind. So what Gardner found was that by automating these kinds of mundane tasks, that can actually, get this, slash work-related stress by up to 20%, because it allows employees to start concentrating on more enriching tasks. So think about that and the kind of engagement that can create. So there are important benefits that we get from AI that are valuable for us to be considering, and how do we leverage these things? Again, this is coming from that perspective. Our goal is to be able to engage our workforce, to create greater retention, to create greater commitment to what the mission is and what the team is all about, to create that connectivity. That's our ultimate goal here. And in fact, along comes AI, along comes humanoid robotics, along come these tools that actually give us platform and context for being able to achieve more of that. And so I want us to keep these things in mind. And here's one more. This one comes from MIT. It just recently completed a fascinating program with MIT. Actually blew my mind and some of the things that are happening in the world of robotics and AI and what's to come. And so in this one, AI-powered wellness initiatives can actually cater to individual needs. So AI-powered wellness initiatives, this has been with us for a little while, but now again, we're accelerating into it. Again, the benefits. Let's keep our eye on the benefits and leverage those. Now, by leveraging those benefits, that allows us to really think about what are some of those potential risks to mental health, because we want to keep an eye on these. And I think that you may start to see that the benefits actually do outweigh the risks in this particular case. So one of the things that we started to see and has been an area of concern and question is, does in fact an over-reliance on AI curtail face-to-face interactions? So from this perspective, is there a risk or a potential risk of workplace isolation? Okay, people hiding behind the AI, so to speak. Well, I think actually, as we've started to see things emerge and the interactions and people's natural propensity to want to connect, right, that we are actually seeing that while this may be a risk, that human nature and the intention and the desire propensity to connect overcomes that risk in many cases. It is, however, one of those pieces we want to keep an eye on as HR professionals, keep an eye on that aspect as well, and make sure that we're creating those engagement opportunities or the context for engagement to occur as well. This is an important element of building teamness for our organizations. A second area came out of Oxford. This one was one of the elements that it kind of plays back to the 1984 Big Brother. Okay, it kind of plays back to that, which is this perspective that constant AI monitoring can induce something called surveillance stress. Am I being watched? Am I being monitored? And, you know, sometimes we hear about this in the sports area. It's the performance anxiety, for example. Okay. So again, you know, we talked about in a prior session, I shared with you some of the elements around ethical AI and the ethical application of AI. So we want to keep this in mind as well, that those types of surveillance can sometimes cause undue or unnecessary stress. So question, when you're surveying, whether it's monitoring somebody's screen or there are cameras in the area for security purposes, anything along those lines, that sometimes that can actually cause some performance stress, we'll call it, in that unintended. Okay, not saying don't do it, but be aware of it so that you can take actions to mitigate. The third area that I want to just talk about briefly here is implementing AI mindfully. So when you bring these AI tools into your organization, or as they further get built in to support your organization and ultimately where you and your team are going, be thinking about how these tools are designed to be tools that help in the creation. So this is where I often speak about the element of cobotics or cobotic relationship, the human robot, the human AI relationship. So this is what we want to be thinking about in this regard, is that co-relationship that exists and how we can implement AI mindfully. Now, some very practical tips in this area. So as you've put tools into your organization or as you're introducing new things, remind people, take breaks, step away from the screen. The example I shared with you earlier, step outside, get some fresh air, take your phone with you. We'll be able to find you, make a phone call. Just step out, shift, take a break. Taking a break from screens can actually mitigate substantially mental fatigue. Just taking that break, standing up, sitting down, these types of things that are the ergonomics, if you will. Now, Deloitte had an interesting piece here. Here, they underscored the necessity of transparent communication. And I've shared pieces of that. If you might remember in our session last week, when we had a chance to chat with Jeff French as well, and I was talking with him a little bit more about this interactive component of AI and the ethical introduction of it, and how robotics are affecting the work environment and some of the biases that are inherently built into those pieces. Remember, a key message that Jeff shared with us as well was about the importance of transparent communication. How are we using the technology? Why are we introducing the technology? How will this technology further benefit all of us on the team and ultimately our clients or our customers? Why are we moving in this path? What is the benefit? And how does it contribute to the well-being? We want to be as transparent in our communication about that as absolutely possible. So in wrapping up, a few things. As you're exploring the world of mental health implications with AI and the introduction of AI and robotics and the accelerating path or accelerating pace rather of AI and its introduction and its evolution, as you're exploring that, there are a couple of the things that I'd love for you to take away on here as well. So first off, the advantages when we prioritize mental health as we're bringing more AI into our organizations and introducing robotics. Some of those advantages are these. When we recognize and we respond to these challenges, we actually cultivate a mentally resilient workforce. And again, remember, one of our primary goals as leaders is to create creativity and resilience in our organization. So recognizing and responding to this aspect is absolutely powerful for us. Also, proactively measuring how to lead in a harmonious AI integration, proactively measuring it so that you're able to amplify the benefits while you're curbing the stressors. Focus on those benefits and those positives and acknowledge and curb those stressors. Work both sides of that component, and you'll be able to move your organizations together and faster as well. And that the content, when we know that our mentally robust employees, they bolster productivity and workplace satisfaction. This is a phenomenal opportunity that we have in front of us as HR trendsetters, whether we're in the HR profession or we're leaders in our business or we're entrepreneurs. This is an amazing opportunity that we have in front of us. So I would love to have you join me again next week. We get together every week at this same time for 30 minutes to do a deep dive into the various aspects of AI, robotics, and the impact on the world of work. I'm so excited to have you here next week with me. My name's Diana Willis. Have an amazing day. Thank you so much for joining me. And I look forward to seeing you all again very, very soon. Take care.